I'm Joel Sharpton, one half of the Articulate Coven, and this is 5 things you probably missed in episode 5 of season 2 of Interview with a Vampire. We're not even going to waste a fact on the opening title card, right? The fact that the city skylines have changed again? Because you've been watching these videos and you already knew that was going to happen, didn't you? Didn't you? In case you did miss it, as normal, we've got modern-day Dubai at the bottom, and at the top, it's San Francisco with the Golden Gate Bridge on the right. Psst, that won't be the last skyline change this season. Number 1, Daniel, the boy. In the original novel Interview with the Vampire, Daniel doesn't have a name and is only referred to as the boy. In our 1973 flashbacks to the original interview, we see that Louis calls him boy or the boy more often than not. Number 2, no one slings insults like Louis de Pointe de Lac. He asks Armand if he wants to lick his boots or cut off his hands. Both pretty fitting references to things that happen in the books. Whether or not either one of those have happened at this point in the series is unknown still. But it sure sounds like they did. Number 3, can you hear her? She's calling me. Louis runs into the sun in this episode, harming himself in what would have been a fatal event if Armand hadn't saved him. We don't know exactly how this will play out in the TV series, but in the novels, Claudia's spirit is tied to her diaries and impacts several characters throughout the course of the books. The implication is very heavy here that her spirit, either real or just imagined by Louis in his drug stupor, compelled Louis into the sun in 1973. Number 4, the truth is out. The more important thing, though, is that both Louis and Daniel have discovered a great deal of things that they previously did not remember. And it sure seems like Armand did not want them to remember those things. How's he going to respond to their knowledge? How are Louis and Daniel going to respond to Armand's betrayal?
Let me ask you a really loaded question, Louis. And then what?
We do know that Armand has been inconsistent. In this episode, Armand tells Daniel that his very first memory was being run down by slavers. But in the last episode, he told Louis that he had been sold into slavery by his parents. Maybe those aren't contradictory, but they sure sound that way. We don't know exactly at this point. We do know that Louis gives an answer at the beginning of the episode that Armand mirrors at the end, almost like he had programmed Louis to say it. Number 5, those who wish to die. Armand tries to kill Daniel towards the end of our 1973 flashback. I'm the quiet you've been longing for, he says. This is a direct reference to a short story that Anne wrote for Playboy in 1979. Armand is giving Louis a lesson on how he kills, calling out telepathically to those who are half in love with easeful death. The speech that Louis left Daniel with in 1973 before they released him and Daniel's career began in earnest is effectively the exact opposite of this technique of Armand's. Armand promised an easeful death. Louis swore Daniel to an impactful life. It's pretty great writing. Also, it is compelling use of deep-cut Anne Rice lore, so kudos. All right, there's your 5 facts. Now it's time for your Lanyap fact.
These words will hold you up and carry you. They are your lifeline. That's a freebaser I befriended for a few days at the drug den. He told me to get my shit together, and then he Richard Pryor'd right in front of me. Everyone scrambled, but I stuck around, watched him burn.
Last week we talked about Michael Jackson's flaming Pepsi commercial. That wasn't Michael's fault, but Richard Pryor is very much to blame for this incident. The world-class comedian had a cocaine habit, and worse than that, had started freebasing it, or smoking rock cocaine. In 1980, during the making of the film Stir Crazy, Richard Pryor was on a binge when he decided to cover himself in rum and light himself ablaze. You can hear him discuss the incident and its aftermath on his comedy special from 1982, Live on the Sunset Strip. It is a genuinely hilarious comedy special, as the incident did not dampen Richard Pryor's skill at all.